Okay, now that we're finished talking about Cobalt, let's talk about his combined wave mate. Okay, maybe not. Combined wave mate of Cobalt is the NSG-25γ Strauss. Now this time I actually did some research and now I know what it is. While Cobalt is actually a hobgoblin of sorts living in the houses of people according to German mythology, Strauss is actually a surname, and the surname is actually come from the house. The house actually called Strauss, but on the apparently the decoration on the house is actually Ostrich, which means that the word Strauss actually translated more or less to ostrich. Yes, a hobgoblin and an ostrich. Yeah. Oh, by the way, both of them are designed by Naoki, as with quite a lot of the frame arm as well. So you can see what it looks like when complete built and complete painted. And yeah, the ostrich theme seems to be there. So, oh, and by the way, it does combinable with MSG weapon, and in particular the double blade. The combined form, the vice height. Not much to talk about actually. Assembly instruction is the same as Cobalt. Once again, a color photo on the front. And once again, it tells you to take the frame apart. But in this case, it's even worse than Cobalt. In here, it say, oh, take the arms apart, take the arm, take the legs, take the head off, and then say take the shoulder, which is actually most of the torso. Take the legs apart. You are not going to use the majority of it. No, actually, you do use the majority of the leg frame. You turn it around and recombine it so that it has a reverse ankle joint. You take the leg, you actually take part of the upper arm and actually turn it into part of the leg as well. It becomes an ankle guard actually. And you remain with a little bit of the lower arm. Then you actually plug that into the body to make tiny little arms on the front. While at the meantime, the torso is actually turned around and plug basically effectively backward to actually put it together. So yeah, Strauss really does take the original frame and basically completely disassemble it and recombine it again. Which is a bit odd because in here it still claimed that its basic frame is frame 001, as in the standard frame arm frame. Now it's not the standard frame arm frame anymore. The component is, but it's not. So the combined form, a few more photo. Color guide is almost exactly the same, except this time it swapped the red for yellow. But that's it. And here is Strauss. Yes, I'm not quite sure what to talk about it at all, really. Yep, it's a weird bipedal dinosaur-y, maybe ostrichy mech. The majority of the components are the legs. You can see that this is actually the upper arm and the shoulder on the normal frame. That is the majority of the leg. So the leg is extremely long. But yeah, it does look. The one thing that I like about Strauss is that it looks unique. You've never seen anything similar to this unless you go into the Zoid category. And even compared to Zoid, this thing looks nothing like any Zoid at all. I mean, the mouth, it doesn't actually have a mouth. Instead, it either has a gun with a camera lens, or you get nothing. One of the options is actually take this apart and actually put fins on the underside, which you hardly see. Articulation. Let's talk about articulation. The head. This head part, this whole thing is actually joined to the neck ball joint, so it does turn a little bit, not a lot, because the body armor is actually blocking it. The head does go up and down to about this much to around this much. this fin on the back is actually double jointed. One swivel joint on the bottom and one swivel joint on the top, which means that it does go up and down a little bit and forward backward a little bit, very little. It can turn left and right a little bit as well because it's such a pack in. The arm actually does move like that, except the ball joint has come off, so I have to push it back in. Let's see. There is a extra elbow joint that supplied with the kit, which you have to assemble yourself. But it means that this little bit of the arm can actually bend 180 degrees until it hits the armor part. The little claw does open and close. That's pretty nice touch actually. They don't really have to. The leg is jointed in as normal, so it does rotate forward and backward a lot until the thrusters basically interfere with this. Okay. So yeah, it's reasonable. It's enough, and because the knee joint is bending backward, you can't actually do much more pose other than that. Oh, and you just saw that. I was going to get to that later, but I could tell you one thing: Strauss is designed almost with no consideration about rigidity at all. Everything is hold on together with the expectation of very flimsy and small polycapped, or even worse, like this ball joint is hard plastic to hard plastic joint. So Strauss will fall apart the moment you look at it. Oh, come on. Okay. Oh, by the way, these two armor does move around as well because they are actually pegged onto ball joint. Yeah. And the ball joint is actually plugged onto the shoulder armor on a peg, which is usually quite strong, but not today. And yeah, this part does come apart because it's actually pegged onto on a single hole. So it does move up and down, forward and backward as well if you want. And this is a double knee joint, so and there's not a lot of armor blocking the way as well. So it can actually bend more than 90 degrees. It's probably to about 120 degrees if you determine. And because this is actually the shoulder and the upper arm, it does go up and down quite a lot. It does swivel around, and then the leg part does go forward, backward, and comes apart, but it does swivel sideways quite a bit. So yeah, that's more or less it for Strauss. Just like Cobalt, Strauss has no real weapon other than that little gun on its mouth. And yes, I'm trying to plug it back together. Yeah. So here is Strauss, and one thing I'm quite intrigued is that Strauss is actually quite big. I never imagined Strauss to be that big next to Cobalt. I was thinking that Strauss is going to be so short, it's going to be below Cobalt waist, but it's not. It's actually quite big. With the leg bent down so much, it looks alright, but if you actually stand anywhere near a bit more upright, it can be as tall as Cobalt or even higher, so it will be around the same height as a normal frame arm. So that's basically it for Strauss by itself. Would I recommend it to you? Not by itself, unless you really do like a peculiar and weird design like me. To me, Strauss does look really, really interesting, but as a mech of its own, it doesn't actually do much. It can do a few striding pose, but it doesn't have proper arm for holding weapon. It has a few ports so that you can actually attach MSG weapon onto him, but most MSG weapons is designed to attach onto arms or onto shoulder pad. It's not really designed for attached to the side of the leg or to the tiny little arms in the front. So yeah, I will recommend you buy it only if you really like the looks of Strauss, or if, like many people, prefer the combined form of Kobo and Strauss. So that's about it. So the next video will be about the combination. So see you then.